Good evening, I'm Diane in Hong Kong, and you're watching ViuTV News. Coming up on our program tonight. Reports Beijing will install a top state leader to steer the Greater Bay Area project, which takes in Hong Kong. The liaison officer's legal chief says China's constitution applies to the SAR, despite the Basic Law saying it doesn't. And Finance Chief Paul Chan warns of hefty and lengthy, albeit indirect, effects of the US-China trade spat on Hong Kong. Well, first up tonight, Beijing is upping its involvement in the Greater Bay Area project, designed to roll Hong Kong and its neighbours into a San Francisco-style hub. Reports say the central government will set up a state-level task force to steer the development. And it'll be led by Vice Premier Han Zheng, the top state leader who's also in charge of Hong Kong and Macau affairs. Lydia Song tells us more.
It's a project officials both here at home and across the border have been selling hard. The Greater Bay Area Initiative, a regional blueprint to turn Hong Kong, Macau and surrounding areas into a Silicon Valley of sorts for the region. Beijing is putting the finishing touches on its plan, which could be unveiled anytime soon. And sources now say a new central leading group will be set up to integrate the cities. The man expected to oversee this all, top state leader Han Zheng, with Hong Kong and Macau's chief executives to serve as his deputies. If confirmed, this will be the first time a Hong Kong leader takes up a role in a national-level policy body.
It will be good to have such a mechanism in place, because that means we as a special administrative region can take part in the discussions and make substantial policy suggestions. It's a more direct way for us to bargain for policy change and relay Hong Kong's views towards the project.
Late last month, the CE made a last-minute detour to meet Han in Beijing before returning home. During that visit, Lam told the state leader the mega integration plan will boost Hong Kong's economy and they're ready for it.
Well, earlier I spoke to Evelina Leung about what the Greater Bay Area is and means for Hong Kong exactly.
This project links up Hong Kong, Macau and 9 other Guangdong cities to form what Beijing calls a financial and innovation powerhouse to rival the United States' Silicon Valley. Now, referred to as the Greater Pearl River Delta, in the past the area has a population of around 67 million. Together, these cities had a GDP of over 10 trillion yuan, which is 1.56 trillion US dollars last year, making it the 5th biggest economy in Asia. New transport links, including roads, bridges, tunnels, and railways, could bring these people within 90 minutes travel of Hong Kong. Now, the blueprint of the project had been expected to be revealed this month or in August, but there have been rumors saying that it will be delayed amid, quote-unquote, external uncertainties, namely the US-China trade war.
Right, so, people are really touting this as a place for Hong Kongers to engage with. So how exactly are Hong Kong supposed to benefit from this?
Well, according to the chief executive, Carrie Lam, she said that the plan would inject new momentum into Hong Kong's economic development, especially in the area of innovation and technology, IT. Officials also said it will give young people new opportunities. For example, more than 1,000 youngsters, mainly university students, are going to 9 different mainland cities and Macau this summer to look for business opportunities and friendship in this Greater Bay Area. Now, Hong Kong officials are also asking residents to consider living or retiring there. So, as you can see, apparently this benefits a lot.
Meanwhile, the legal chief of Beijing's liaison office here made a contentious point today about the Chinese constitution applying to Hong Kong. Wang Zhenmin said anyone who tries to detach the city from national laws is politically dishonest. However, before his speech at a Basic Law Forum this afternoon, the official did say he was speaking from a personal point of view. Now, Wang said all articles in the country's constitution can be applied here except those already covered in the Basic Law. That's despite Hong Kong's mini-constitution clearly stating national laws shall not be applied here, apart from specific articles listed in Annex 3.
We have a high degree of respect for Hong Kong's judicial independence, but we need to understand the country will not follow Hong Kong laws when dealing with the city's problems. If we have to work according to Hong Kong laws in Hong Kong and Macau ones in Macau, that would be chaotic.
In the aftermath of the deadly bus crash on Tai Po Road, there are revelations from a local councillor that is pleased to deal with speeding drivers were ignored for years. Chan Siu-Kyun has given evidence at an independent inquiry into franchise bus services set up after the February crash, which killed 19 people. He says he asked the Transport Department to put up a speed limit sign back in 2015 and last year suggested police install a speed camera at the Tai Po Mei section of the road, both of which were never done. LegCo's president has rejected accusations of bulldozing bills through the city's legislature. But Andrew Leung hasn't ruled out putting a deadline on bills if they're time-sensitive. His comments follow a failed no-confidence motion moved against him by the pan-democratic camp earlier this week. They accuse him of setting a cap on debating time and rushing through legislation on the controversial West Kowloon Joint Checkpoint. Speaking to reporters after a radio show, Leung believes he can improve ties with lawmakers who don't see eye to eye with him.
I think as president, I'll just have to look forward on different issue, and I will, and I like, as always, will like to have better communication with all members, including the pandemic camp. So hopefully we'll try our best to work out something.
Well, Secretary for Health Sophia Chan said the hospital authority will launch a pilot program as soon as possible to promote cross-family donation to help patients in need of kidney transplants. LegCo this week passed an amendment of the Human Organ Transplant Ordinance to allow patients receive organs from an unrelated living donor if the conditions suit, and their family members will then be registered for cross-donation in future. Chan said she is still waiting on the latest clinical information from the hospital authority on when it can begin and hopes to extend the scheme beyond kidney transplants soon. Elsewhere, heavy rains and storms have wreaked havoc in parts of China with floods forcing evacuations. In Sichuan, torrents of water have destroyed bridges and roads. Downpours have also hit Gansu hard, a region previously decimated by drought. There have also been landslides in Zhuqiu County. One on Friday caused the Bailong River to surge by as much as 8 meters, forcing residents to flee to higher ground. Forecasters say up to 80 millimeters an hour has been dumped on some regions throughout today. Well, hundreds of people in Berlin have attended a memorial service to remember Nobel Peace Laureate Liu Xiaobo a year on from his death. Liu died aged 61 after he was denied permission to leave the mainland for treatment for late-stage liver cancer. His widow Liu Xia didn't attend despite arriving in the German city earlier this week. Freed from years of house arrest in China, reports said she was worried about risking the safety of her brother, who's in the mainland, if she took part in the memorial.
We hope that the other people will also be set free, because she's not the only one. She was a very important person, and there are many more people, human rights campaigners, lawyers, and they are as important. We hope that China changes its mind about human rights and individuality, and that the individual does not belong to the state anymore, but is allowed to have its own mind and its own opinions and feelings.
We'll take a look now at the latest from the world of business. Well, as the trade spat between US and China continues to heat up here in Hong Kong, the financial secretary has offered some comfort to small and medium-sized businesses. Paul Chan says the government is poised to jump in and help out with policy support if things continue to go south. Chan added he believes the trade row has limited direct impact on the city, but he warned the indirect impact, such as on banking credit, could be hefty and lengthy if it intensifies.
Apart from affecting the real economy, it will also affect the capital market and the financial market, as well as investment sentiment. That indirect impact on Hong Kong will be more significant, but that remains to be seen because trade war involves multiple parties. The reaction of other parties are still unclear yet.
Well, as a reprieve in trade tensions, though, ZTE is back in business. The U.S. Department of Commerce on Friday lifted a ban on China's second-largest telecoms equipment maker doing business with American parts suppliers. That's after ZTE deposited $400 million into an escrow account as part of a settlement reached last month. U.S. officials described the terms of the deal as the strictest ever imposed in such a case. ZTE had all but shut down following the April ban for violating sanctions on Iran. Well, ZTE's comeback gave U.S. suppliers such as Qualcomm a boost on the stock market. That and strong energy shares lifted Wall Street to a second week of gains. The S&P 500 hit a more than 5-month high on Friday despite disappointing results from big banks. On the Dow Jones, meanwhile, the biggest loser was McDonald's as 2 U.S. states probe a parasite outbreak linked to its salads. All 3 major indices rose more than 1% for the week, though analysts say investors remain cautious.
In the U.S., we still have this overhang of negativity related to Trump, trade threats and tariffs and the like. And I think very clearly it has dented confidence and sentiments.
Staying in the U.S., pharmaceutical giant Johnson & Johnson has vowed to appeal a $4.7 billion verdict awarded to 22 American women who claim the company's talcum powder products gave them cancer. Legal experts say the company's chances of winning aren't high. And as Fred Katayama reports, it could mean many more cases against it down the line.
A Missouri jury ordered Johnson & Johnson to pay a record $4.7 billion to 22 women. The women alleged the company's talc-based products, including its baby powder, contain asbestos and caused them to develop ovarian cancer. The verdict is the largest Johnson & Johnson has faced to date over allegation that its talc-based products cause cancer. The company is battling some 9,000 talc cases. It denies both that its talc products cause cancer and that they ever contained asbestos. It says decades of studies show its talc to be safe and has successfully overturned previous talc verdicts on technical legal grounds. In a statement, Johnson & Johnson called the trial fundamentally unfair and said it would appeal the decision. Reuters correspondent Tina Bellin is covering the story.
One of the law professors I've spoken to said now every patient who has ovarian cancer will start thinking, oh, it might have been because I used baby powder, and the risk for the company is just getting bigger in terms of more lawsuits being filed against it.
Johnson & Johnson shares fell after the verdict.
Time for a break now, but when we return, the Thai boys rescued from the flooded cave make strides in recovering and are looking forward to going home as soon as next week.
The 2018 FIFA World Cup Russia final. See the biggest